Wow. That's all I have to say. Steve Sarkisian, whether it's a portal player or last minute flip from, A&M, the beat goes on for the Texas head coach, Steve Sarkisian. Earlier today, he gets a commitment from a 2026 player. So not even on junior day does he get a commit from a actual high school junior going to be a senior for this year. He actually gets one that is currently a sophomore in high school, and it's a young man named Raycine Guillory Jr., a running back out of state champion Aledo. CJ, what do you know about him?
Baller. And I don't say that lightly. We just watched the first 3 minutes of his tape, and I tell you what, I was in an Uber ride coming back home, and my jaw hit the floor, basically. We almost had to stop the car because of how far that my jaw was behind us. But it was really impressive to watch Raycine Guillory here. The change of speed and burst, the acceleration just screams off the screen. This is a guy that rushed for 1,200 plus yards this year, averaged over 8.5 yards per carry as well. Finds the end zone from just about anywhere, has great balance and speed. He just told me he actually ran a 10.8 in the 100-meter as a true sophomore in high school. Really impressive when you consider what he can still develop into. The tape is very impressive. Oh, and he's built very well as well. I was told he's about 5'10", about 185 pounds, but he looks like he's been in the college weight room already as a sophomore. A tremendous running back, a tremendous talent, and a great start to the 2026 class for the Texas Longhorns.
You know, Tashard Choice strikes again too, right? I mean, they've got a commitment from a 2026 running back before they even have a commitment from a 2025. They hosted several of those guys and even made a new offer in the 2025 class. And Ricky Stewart, earlier on Saturday, a young man out of Chapel Hill. But this is a 2026 player that they're going ahead and taking a good pop at. You also said, we were also talking about this, Guillory ran a 4.43 laser 40-yard dash. 4.43 laser 40-yard dash. Look, he's just now in his sophomore year, going to start his sophomore track campaign as well. Comes from a great Aledo program, of course, that we've talked about before. But if you notice these clips here, there's a lot of him catching the ball. And that seems to be a consistent theme for Steve Sarkisian and Tashard Choice. You got to be able to catch the ball to play in his offense.
That's absolutely the case. And I mean, the clip that we're watching right now just shows off the burst, the ability to change direction and maintain speed. You see that very often for young running backs. When they cut and they change direction, the speed and burst doesn't always translate and maintain. For Guillory, I mean, he's the complete package at the running back position. The hands are there. We just saw a 35-yard reception over the shoulder to end up in the end zone. It's tremendous. It is a common theme with Tashard Choice. You have to be a complete running back to play with Steve Sarkisian and Tashard Choice. We've seen it time and time again, whether it be Roshan Johnson or Bijan. Jonathan Brooks catch out of the backfield, and we've obviously seen it with Jaden Blue as well. This is the current trend that they are recruiting on at the running back position. And I mean, this is a special talent to be seeing these type of clips for a sophomore right now. No reason why he was a big part of Aledo's state title run as well.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got a teammate, Jermichael Finley's son, also on this team, plays receiver. So Texas will unlikely be done recruiting Aledo players in the 2026 recruiting class. CJ, share with folks a little bit about what you talked to. You talked to a high school coach that is an opposing high school coach to Raycine Guillory. Tell folks what you heard from that opposing coach.
This is going to be a guy that's in that top 5 conversation for all classifications at the running back position in the state this year. That's how talented of a running back he is already. I think it's very encouraging that you're hearing that right now, because it certainly sends you the idea of what kind of prospect he can still develop into. Without a question of a doubt, I believe this is a prospect that can eventually develop into a top 3, top 5 running back on the national scale for his classification. That's the type of prospect Texas is adding this early already to the 2026 class. Tashard Choice, we talked about it a lot, and it at times I think we talk about it a little too often. But when Tashard Choice goes out and gets guys like this early, what more can you say than, tip the cap?
Yeah,
he's tremendous. It's really impressive what Tashard Choice is able to do, how he's been able to pitch his development of former guys that he's tutored and taught as well. right now, Raycine Guillory is looking like another guy that he will be able to have as a feather in the cap when it comes to development and true prospects moving on to being the NFL category.
Now, he wasn't the only running back on campus on Saturday for the Longhorns. There were Tredarian Ball out of East Texas was there. There was Ricky Stewart also out of East Texas in the senior class. Jordan Davison out of Santa Ana Mater Dei. You mentioned Tashard Choice, and they took Christian Clark as well as Jarrett Gibson in this last class. Steve Sarkisian and Tashard Choice have no problem saying, "Look, come here, share the rock, play what you can." I mean, Jonathan Brooks rushed for 1,000 yards, and then you had Cedric Baxter and Jaden Blue looking every bit the part to end the year. That has to play a part in Raycine Guillory's decisions and other people's decisions of just how much Sark likes to spread the ball around with his running backs. I mean, before he had Bijan and Roschon and both get drafted. I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like Texas is dealing with a stacked deck right now. I get that sense, not only with Bijan and Roschon last year, but with Jonathan Brooks' success this year. And now, even when those guys go out, the next group looks just as good. It's pretty impressive.
I think that last part is exactly what I was going to talk about. When you see the departures of Roschon and Bijan, well, here comes, Jonathan Brooks, who was in the Doak Walker conversation up until his injury. Oh, but when he departs, Texas then goes out and finds two different running backs to each produce 100-yard games in the 4 weeks left of the season that Texas had remaining this year. That's encouraging. You're recruiting guys that don't have a drop-off in production at the position. You're maintaining that threat on the ground, which is so important for the Steve Sarkisian offense when you talk about complementary football that he hopes to play to go along with that big offense that he has in the passing game. It's going to be a big staple of this Texas offense as long as Steve Sarkisian's here, and that production and talent will not drop off as long as Tashard Choice is here.
Just a tremendous pickup this early in the process. Texas put out at least 5 new scholarship offers on Saturday for the class of 2025. But this is the class of 2026. This is the first commitment for the class of 2026 for the Longhorns. He officially goes around 5'10", 180, 185. Is that right?
That is. I've heard right around 185.
Okay, yeah. So that's big for a sophomore in high school, guys. I know a lot of people are going to wonder, well, what size is that? He's still got 2 full years of high school to go. He could very well end up in the 200-plus range if he keeps growing, keeps building his body, etc. He clearly runs through tackles, so I don't think that's going to be an issue at any level, actually. CJ, where do you see Texas over the next week or 2 weeks going from a recruiting perspective? I mean, We've got the portal still kind of quasi-open. We've got 2025s, now 2026s. They had guys even in from 2027 and beyond. Is this going to be – I get the sense from my years in this business that Texas has hit a tipping point, right? They're over that tipping point now where now Sark has to be – they have to be careful. Don't take too many commitments too early. Don't take too few. Be measured with it. But they're just such a hot school right now. It's going to require some patience, I think.
It is. And I think what you mentioned was important. Do you take this many commitments early? Because players change, players get hurt. There's a lot of recruitments that develop. There's obviously a lot of players that see growth spurts. They grow, they change, whatever it might be. Texas has been very good at filling out classes from June to December. The last 6 months of the calendar year for that cycle, that's where you see most of the action for each cycle. A commitment this early is something that Texas has been kind of hesitant to take under Steve Sarkisian. I wonder if this is the changing of the guard in which Texas now feels comfortable in the sense that, we're winning. We can do this. Or if, it's kind of a one-off situation. We'll certainly see following the next couple of weeks after this junior day. Obviously, a couple more visitors will be joining campus over the next 2 weeks as well. So it's interesting. I think Texas is at a crossroads at the moment. It's going to be important to see just how they manage it because it can go one of 2 ways. You can dominate, hold on to your pieces, or you're going to be forced to have a couple hard decisions later on in each cycle.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Raycine Guillory looks the part. And so, if you're going to – seriously, if you're going to take a chance on someone that young, you take one on somebody like that. I mean, that's how it looks. Because you're right. I mean, look, football's a tough sport. Injury can happen. Things can happen. But young man looks certainly special on film. All right, CJ, that's going to do it. This has been On Texas Football. For CJ Vogel, I'm Bobby Burton and Raycine Guillory Jr. Hook 'em, buddy.